Want candy now?
What is going on, everybody? Nasdorachi coming back at you on this fine day after Christmas. Happy holidays to you guys. I was busy yesterday, so I wasn't able to put anything out, but today we don't have much to do, so Dragon Ball Legends did receive an enormous update last night, you guys. I'm sure plenty of y'all know about it already. The level cap has been raised to 2,000. We've got a great step-up banner to check out. There's a new Vegeta event. They've added more story. They've added a Broly hard difficulty to his event. So, again, there's tons of stuff to check out. And honestly, it's too much even for one of my longer videos, you guys. So I will be splitting this up into multiple parts. We're going to be checking out all the different facets of the update. And today, right now, the first thing we're going to do is jump into the step-up banner, because other than the level cap upgrade, the step-up banner is where most of the hype is going to be. So let's jump in here and check out the new characters, and then we're going to go ahead and burn some summons. That'll wrap up this video, and then I'm going to start working on the next one, which will be all the other important stuff. So jumping into the character list here, because this is currently the only way for me to check out Beerus, we're going to check out him. He is one of the new units, along with Super Saiyan God Goku, Kaioken Goku, and a Vegeta from the Saiyan Saga that's actually a lot better than people were anticipating that he would be, because he's kind of plain, an older throwback unit. But you guys, he's really good, so we're going to go over all of them here. But first and foremost, we have Beerus. Now, Beerus, unfortunately, is not as good as I had hoped he would be yet. He is a support character, and he's a support character for a team that doesn't exist yet. As you can see here, he's going to have the God Key with the Z ability God Key. So basically the Realm of Gods is becoming a thing in Legends now. That's pretty cool. I'm really excited for that. But again, Beerus is a support character for only Godku. Those two units are the only two Realm of Gods characters in the game at this point. And because of that, unfortunately, he's just not going to be as good as a highly leveled Cooler on a Movies team, since that team is much more fleshed out and has a very high spot in the meta. Just Beerus is coming in just not kind of lackluster until his team gets more support for him to support on it. But that aside, he is still a very good unit. You have 2 yellow cards. That's another kind of drawback with him. He brings 2 yellows to the battle. As a support type, it would at least be nice to see 1 red, 1 yellow, but it is what it is. And you can also see he's got the tag Twins, and this is Foresight. This is going to be going along with Champa. When we get a Champa card in the game, Champa's going to have that Twins tag. It might be interesting to see what other characters have the Twins tag that have some synergy with each other that we may not have been expecting. Nothing crazy on the red or the yellow cards. Blue card is the Sphere of Destruction, deals major explode damage, inflicts a tribute downgrade, 15% to key recovery to enemy for 35 timer counts on hit. Drawback of this is going to be that is a debuff the enemy can just sub out of. They just switch to another character, and you won't see the effects of that. So honestly, the blue card here, while it is good support, like if there's only a 1v1 situation, you're down to the last character, then this will be a little bit better, but again, supportive, not really damage-oriented, not super great. Power Flick, I am assuming that this is a counter from what I saw in the pre-release video anyway, and I believe you can combo out of it. Cancels the enemy attribute upgrades on hit, activates once, inflicts attribute downgrade, plus 25% to blast damage received. Again, the enemy will be able to sub out of this, but when you're down to the last character and you compound the blue card, the green card debuffs, you'll have some effectiveness there. Or maybe you're building a mono green focus team, you have Bardock on the team as well. You can use Beerus to debuff the enemy, switch into Bardock, and then lock them in so they have to suffer those debuffs. So those are kind of strategies to play around with in your head as to how to make the most use out of this just right now, if you're lucky enough to get Beerus, because I believe he is only on the ticket banner. Massive explode damage, destroys all enemy cards on hit. Again, supportive, but a cool effect. It's just a waste of the enemy's time. They're going to come out with less options after being hit by this, and they're just going to sit there and wait for their hand to refill. So it is useful. It's not going to help you win the battle faster necessarily, but it is useful. Main ability here, this is quite good. It gives him 20% blast damage inflicted for 20 timer counts, so at least he has one way of buffing his damage a little bit. And of course, you get the ultimate arts technique with that as well. Z ability, God Key based blast defense during battle. I'm sure that'll upgrade at 5 stars, but it could be very expensive to try and 5-star this unit right now. I'm sure he'll come back again and be featured on another Realm of Gods banner, but only being able to potentially pull him off the tickets and not the banner itself means that he's a prize right now. He's not a very good prize in terms of usability, but I really believe he's going to get a lot better when this team gets more members in the future. Unique ability, following effects will activate when the battle begins. Applies buff effect, nullify attribute downgrades to self up to 2 times. Applies buff effect, nullify abnormal conditions up to 2 times. And plus 50% to own key recovery for 5 timer counts when key is 30 or lower after using an arts card. And that doesn't have a use limitation. You can just do that all the time. He will get an amazing 50% key recovery buff when you're using cards when you're at low key. That's awesome. That means Beerus is going to be able to combo pretty well. It's a good ability. It's new as well, pretty unique. I like that. Aura of Destruction inflicts attribute downgrade at +5 to blast arts cost to enemy for 10 timer counts every time this character enters the battlefield with no limit. Seals all enemies' main abilities for 10 timer counts every time this character enters the battlefield. This is going to be increasingly useful, this main ability sealer, for blocking off ultimate arts techniques. Obviously, one, you can block out the bar lock, you can block out stuff like Broly's Super Saiyan transformation, but you're still going to be at a significant type disadvantage putting this Beerus up against Broly. And beyond that, it may help better for stuff like Kaioken Goku. You can block out his transformations or shallots without being at a disadvantage. But that's one of the most interesting things about this Beerus unit, is his ability to lock out the main abilities of your opponent. So I do like that a lot. And from there, we can actually just go to the banner itself to check out the rest of them, because we can hit the featured characters up here. The Kaioken Goku is the one we're looking at next here. He does have a lot of different variations of his blue card depending on his transformation state. He can go base form, he can go Kaioken, and then he can do like a ×4 Kaioken Kamehameha, I believe, as well, which will then cancel his transformation and inflict some significant debuffs on Goku here. So this character is actually a fairly high-risk, high-reward character. He's going to be not for your just beginner player. This is actually a character with a little bit more skill curve to him, and we're going to go over that why here in just 1 second here. 2 red cards for melee type. That's fabulous. Saiyan and Son family. It's pretty standard there. And let's just see, after transformation, nothing really changes. Okay. We go to the arts cards here. We'll see the Kaioken Kamehameha just in base form, when he's just not in Kaioken at all. Major impact damage, inflicts attribute downgrade 15% to strike damage received to enemy for 15 timer counts. Again, this is something that the enemy can just sub out of, like the other special abilities we've been looking at so far on Beerus. So that's not super great just by itself there, but it upgrades, so it gets much, much better. Unlock key, form of attack, 20% to strike damage inflicted for 20 timer counts. Which is pretty good buff for just his base form there. Now we get to the Kaioken transformation, and we go to the Kaioken Kamehameha. Before using your special arts card, so this is before you've used a green card while you're Kaioken form. Major impact damage, inflicts attribute downgrade, blah blah blah. It's basically the same thing, they can sub out of it, it's not really anything special. But if you use a green card after you've gone Kaioken, it will enhance the special move significantly. Deals major impact damage, plus 100% to special move arts damage inflicted for 5 timer counts, reduces own health by 50%, and forcibly cancels own transformations on hit. Which, that also has some other ramifications that we're going to go over here in 1 second, but you lose half your health, you guys. So this is basically a coup de grace finishing move right here. You're not going to want to use this early in the battle, because you're going to put yourself at a significant disadvantage just in terms of health and stats when you lose the transformation. So again, finishing move, use that when it's just basically going to guarantee you a victory, or at least guarantee you taking out one of the opponent's characters to put you in an advantaged state. And then you can save the Goku, throw in front of the Rising Rush, and just maintain your advantage throughout the rest of the battle. Stuff like that. But again, you do not want to lead with his Ultra technique here. It's not an Ultimate Arts technique, it's just, I don't know, like an Ultra technique, we'll say that. The green card, while you are in Kaioken form, instead of just a 20% buff to strike damage, will restore your own Vanishing Gauge by 40%, give you 30% to damage inflicted, activates once, cannot be cancelled, gives you plus 30% to your own Ki recovery, activates once, cannot be cancelled. Special move arts cards turn into the 4x Kaioken Kamehameha. So basically you will want to play the Goku in base form, do what damage you can, use his main ability, which does function on a timer, so it will go away on its own no matter what. If you don't win the fight or whatever, he dies, however that plays out. But you will then want to use the green card, which will significantly buff all Goku's stats yet again. But then you'll want to hold off on using any blue cards until the situation we previously discussed, where it's kind of like a game-winning situation. But before you use the blue card, after you use the green card, sounds kind of confusing, this unit right here should be pumping out some really solid damage. So, main ability, just in base form, will transform into 2x Kaioken. It does last for only 60 seconds, as we're seeing here, but you can activate it only 10 seconds into the battle. So you should get majority usage of this throughout the fight. Z ability, 22% to blue base strike, attack, and defense. He's a great mono blue or blue focused team member. I'm getting excited. 15% to strike damage inflicted for 20 timer counts every time own attack is evaded by a vanishing step. That's a very interesting buff. People are vanishing constantly in this game, so you will always be getting a pretty good usage out of that. And the 3x Kaioken's Toll, we'll go over that in a second. After transformation, you will draw a special arts card, so this will set you up for that hyper powerful Kamehameha. You get plus 20% to strike damage inflicted for 15 timer counts, plus 50% to own Ki recovery for 15 timer counts, but it will reduce your health by 15%. Now, you can combo this with the green card, again, to just get maximum self-stat buffing going on in this Kaioken Goku right here, and then again, you'll coup de grace with the blue card there. But if you use it in a Rising Rush, you may not have to suffer the ill effects of it canceling your transformation. So we'll have to playtest that and see. That might be the best strategy for playing this unit here. Z ability doesn't change after transformation. The following effects will last 20 timer counts after activating your transformation. You get 35% to your own Vantage Gauge recovery and minus 20% to the damage you would deal to yourself, I guess via your main ability and via using that blue card to coup de grace, where it says 50% damage to self. This will reduce that by 20%, I guess, maybe? We'll have to, again, playtest it. I haven't made any summons yet. And gotta risk it. If own remaining health is 50% or less after enemy attack is over, draw a special move arts card next. So this Goku has all the utility he could possibly have to just be able to pump out as much damage as possible. It's actually a very interesting unit, and all these different effects are, again, why I say he has a high skill curve comparative to other units in the game where you just use cards and that's all you have to worry about. Now, the last thing we want to go over here, which is again part of the skill curve, what makes this character more challenging to use. Basically, if you allow the transformation to expire via using the superpowered Kamehameha, or if you use a green card and then just it expires due to time, you will get some significant debuffs to your unit here. 30% to the damage he'll be receiving from any type of source, minus 30% to the damage he'll be outputting, and minus 30% to his own Ki recovery. So again, this is why you want to set up that blue Kamehameha to be able to just, finish the fight, or at least put you in a situation where the enemy is in an unwinnable state from there. So that's, again, I'm kind of excited for this unit just because he is more challenging to use. He's got a lot of pros, but also a lot of side grades and debuffs as well. So again, most interesting unit on the banner is definitely this Goku here. Next up, potentially the best unit on the banner, surprisingly, is this Vegeta right here. I'm not even going to click his blue card because it's just the same Gallic gun we've already seen a million times. And honestly, that's kind of why people weren't really excited for this Vegeta. I do like how his character model's beat up a little bit and his tail is swinging free instead of being used as the belt. But outside of that, everything is fairly similar to the other Vegeta we have, but a mirror, kind of. You have a melee type here, so he's not a range type like the purple Scouter Vegeta. And his stats are pretty good. He comes with 2 red cards there. Nothing special on them, but you have the Gallic Gun as well. 20% to strike damage inflicted, so it's just a blanket buff to his own strike damage, which is better than some of the other buffs we've been seeing that apply a debuff to an enemy or then they can sub out of it. So this is better than some of the other just base blue cards we've seen so far. Explosive Wave. He can combo out of this, but it's basically going to be that AoE kind of pushback, almost similar to Android 17's Barrier, but he'll get a 25% to strike damage inflicted for 20 timer counts buff, and it'll inflict a damage debuff receiving kind of thing to the enemy, but that's one of those things they can sub out of. But you'll do 15% additional damage to the enemy for 20 timer counts, provided they don't sub out of it. And as you can see, it's just kind of that 2 rows in front of you AoE, so it will push back the enemy and then you can chase them down. So it's very good, even better than Gogeta's green card, which is a counter that you can't combo out of. But this one you will be able to. Main ability here, restore own health by 25%, 30% to strike damage inflicted for 15 timer counts, and 35% to own ki recovery for 15 timer counts. So overall, this is better than the original Scouter Vegeta, where he just has a blanket 50% buff to, I believe, his blast damage. This one will give you a lesser damage buff, but it'll restore his health, which will work in tandem with one of his other abilities we're going to check out here that's amazing. And he gets some pretty damn good buffs on top of that as well. Z ability, he is a green base strike and blast defense buffer, so good for your mono-focus green teams. But similarly to Kaioken Goku, he's not going to play well on a Rainbow Saiyans team because he's not going to be providing any just generic buffs to all Saiyans in general. So Endurance, restore own health by 20% and 30% to damage inflicted for 10 timer counts when own health reaches 0. So we've seen Hercule's mechanic return here, where once he dies once, he will come back to life. He gets some significant buffs to him. So if you combo this to his main ability as well, he'll get back 45% of his health, almost half his health back. If you throw him in front of a Rising Rush, he dies, he comes back with almost half his health back, and he gets 30% to damage inflicted there, and 30% to strike damage inflicted. So he'll have 60% buff strike damage on coming back to life from getting killed, which is honestly one of the reasons why this is potentially the best unit on the banner right here. You can play him extremely aggressively, you can let him die intentionally just to then buff him up, bring him back from the grave, zombie Vegeta, and then he'll do work killing your enemies. So again, despite the unit just being kind of a basic and not very hyped up unit at first, he's actually very, very good. The comboable green card and the resurrection with buffs, amazing. Crisis, strike down. If you use him as an anchor character, being the last character left alive, he will get -5 to the cost of his red cards when your other 2 allies are dead. So again, that's an anchor ability right there. Pretty good, actually. Again, this unit is probably the best unit on the banner, surprisingly enough. Then we have our Super Saiyan God Goku here. It's one of the units I was the most excited for, and he will pair up with Beerus as the only other God Ki member that we have in the game so far. He's got a nice little punch combo there on his blue card, and his ultimate arts technique is a great Kamehameha here. It features a bunch of different camera angles, cuts, and it just looks really pretty. So we'll see that right there. Boom, boom, boom. It would be great. I know. I don't mind this character model. I think everything looks pretty clean on this guy right here. So he is red. Another red Goku there. Jumping into the stats here, he is a melee, but he brings a yellow card. That is somewhat unfortunate. It just makes things more complicated when you're building certain teams with certain units, because you see Beerus is bringing 2 yellow cards as a support. So you're already way off balance in terms of your reds and yellow cards if you're running this Goku and the Beerus together. So you do have to pay attention to stuff like that. But he does have the God Ki tag as well there, which will be useful when the Realm of Gods team has some more members. Nothing crazy on red and yellow. The Dragon Smash deals major impact damage, cancels enemy attribute upgrades on hit, activates once. So you can use it to debuff your enemy, which pretty useful right there. You save that for the right situation where, you know, Super Saiyan Bardock has swapped into Broly, and Broly's just buffed out of his gourd, you can use this right here then to cancel that, the blue card. So, again, pretty useful there. Green card, unlock form of attack, 20% to own key recovery for 20 timer counts, and 20% to damage inflicted for 20 timer counts. It's just an upgraded version of the base form Kaioken Goku's green card, where he only gets the 20% to the damage. Now this will have key recovery on it as well. And the Limit Breaker Kamehameha deals major impact damage, plus 5 to enemy substitution count for 15 timer counts on hit. It's kind of more of a utility than a damage-based Ultimate Arts technique, but it looks really cool, so we'll give it a pass there. Main ability, of course, is draw the Ultimate Arts technique, but he is at a disadvantage compared to a lot of other new units we're seeing recently, because he does not have any other buff coming from this main ability. A lot of other units we're seeing now will have the Ultimate Arts card, as well as some other type of modifier or stat buff on it, and unfortunately, he does not have that here. He is also a God Key buffer, but not anything offensive. He's like the Pycon of this team, honestly, where he just buffs the health. Not super excited about that. 20% to base critical, so you get a critical buff if you do get him to 5 stars. Makes it a little bit better. Not going to complain. Again, this will be a good team when we get more members, but they're kind of leading with some of the weaker members of this team, or at least not the weaker. I love the characters, but just some of the stats on these particular units are not as good as I'm assuming we're going to see the rest of the Realm of Gods members having. God, I can't wait for God Blue. Super Saiyan God Blue. I'm going to be super stoked for that. Alright, so Realm of Gods. The following effects activate when the battle begins. Applies buff effect, nullify attribute downgrades 2 times to self. This is exactly the same, I think. Yeah, this is literally exactly the same as the God Key buff that Beerus has. Realm of Gods. Literally the same. He will nullify attribute downgrades, nullify abnormal conditions twice, buffs his own key recovery when he uses a card when he's below 30 key. So that's interesting that they have a word-for-word identical passive ability there. But he also has higher, plus 30% to damage inflicted when tagged Saiyan other than this character as a battle member, 30% to strike damage inflicted, and restores own health by 30% when 2 allies are down. So he has kind of a heal that you don't have too much control over, but that's pretty interesting, you guys. Again, I think this unit is pretty good. I don't think he's as good as the Vegeta yet, only because he just doesn't have a team. And then also featured on this banner are a plethora of other good units. The draw rates for them are relatively low, I'm assuming, like extremely low, comparative to the boosted rates for the newer units. But yeah, we got good. Gogeta's good, Janemba's good, Super Saiyan 3, Majin Vegeta, Black, Bardock is amazing. These 2 units right here are MVP on this banner besides the new ones. So you'll be definitely wanting to pick up some summons on this if you are able to, you guys.